Living here in the Midwest, we have 4 very distinct seasons. We have bitter cold winters with polar vortex blasts that send temps below zero. And we have summers that can bake the ground so hard that unless there is some kind of irrigation, the plants, crops, grass, and gardens wither under its heat. And in between these 2 harsh extremes, we have glorious springs and autumns that shed the extreme temperatures for welcome breaks from heat and cold. Year after year, the cycle continues, even though at times one season might hang on a little longer than usual. Yes, I was still mowing my fescue lawn in December this year, but winter is here and reminds us that January is the season for ice and snow. We know the seasons, and we know that one cannot grow anything in winter. Even the hardiest weeds are nipped back and are forced to wait until the sun warms the ground. We understand the weather and how there are seasons for growth and seasons for fallow ground where one just has to wait to plant and harvest. But we aren't as aware of such seasons of the soul. But there is a regular spring, summer, winter, and fall of the Spirit. For we all have had those times of great growth in our faith and faithfulness to God, just like spring and summer. And during those pleasant days, we think that, growth and new plantings, along with second and third harvest, will continue without stop as we grow in our faith. So why is it that we don't expect winter with the soul? For when the closeness or the spiritual growth ends, we think that something must be wrong with ourselves or our relationship with God. I mean, if we're not continuously flourishing, blooming, and bearing fruit. But could it also be true that there is a winter season where the ground or the heart lays dormant, in that nothing is growing, nor can it do so until the seasons change? If there is a winter season of the soul, we may rightly wonder, what good purpose could ever come from such a cold, barren time of fruitless waiting on the Lord? But God, in His wisdom, has designed such seasons and has a purpose for the dormant and unproductive times of winter in our spirit. For as the earth, winter is a time of rest, so that when spring and summer come, again, there is energy and resources to produce another crop. So God, in His wisdom, also designed a time of unproductive rest for the soul, winter. In fact, this time of rest was so important that God even called for a rest in the weekly rhythm of life in the Old Testament. It was one of the 10 Commandments which God gave through Moses, saying, "Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days you shall do your work, but the 7th is a Sabbath to the Lord. On it you shall not do any work. You, your spouse, your children, your servants, animals, slaves, even the foreigners in your land. You shall rest. For I, the Lord your God, created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and on the 7th I rested." Winter is not a time for planting, tilling, or harvesting, but for resting and renewal of the soil for the coming seasons, when there will be much work and much produced. And so the winter of the soul is a much needed time of rest. Now, rest does not mean neglect of God or His Word or failing to plan and prepare for seasons to come. For even in winter, there's still much to do, but it is inside work. And it is usually with others who are also inside with us. That's the relationship work. If you find yourself in a winter of the soul, then realize that it too has a God-given purpose. Now is the time to rest with God, to be with Him, without expecting much to grow in the moment, but knowing that the next season is coming. Now is the time to be inside with Him, near Him, and in His Word, worshiping, praying, and eating at His table. It is also a time to do with others who are enduring the cold and the dark winter months. So I hope to see you all this weekend in Bible study and worship as we prepare for the spring and summer of the soul.